This is the Yijing hexagram divination for January, specifically January 21st. I'm doing these probably about once a month as a kind of experiment. And this week or this month, compared to last month, is quite simple. It has no changing line, so it's just a single hexagram. So let's get into it. It's pretty simple. It's hexagram 24, Fu, return. It is one yang line, and all the rest are yin lines. This is a very interesting hexagram because if we go backwards a little bit into the hexagrams, hexagram number 2 actually is all yin lines. That's earth, right? This is all yin lines except the bottom line, which is yang. And that's interesting because 2 becomes 24, right? In the cycle of nature, in the cycle of seasons. And this is a very interesting kind of just obvious, reflection of the seasonal change that, we're in here in the, northern hemisphere. Spring is about to begin, or it is slowly beginning now. So let's get into just reading it, and then I'll talk a little bit more about some of the sort of concepts and ideas that are inside of this. So Fu, the return, supreme blessing, going to and fro, no affliction, friends come, nothing inauspicious, following one's Tao. In 7 days there is a return, favorable for going forward. Fu is about the cycles of time and the inevitable return of all things to their origin. Every move forward contained a move backwards. Fu is the promise that in retracing our steps we will be brought home. Fu is the guaranteed return of spring after winter and the light of sunrise, which is yang, after the darkness, yin, of night. Recognizing and following these circular patterns, we experience the ease of a smooth and harmonious life. The auspices are: short-term plans succeed in the context of a broad view. Things are turning for the better. Routine work comes to fruition. It is favorable to have a clear goal before setting out. And the commentary by Ming. According to Fu, human happiness is easily found close to home, family and friends, in the simple, small, ordinary tasks of life. The great wisdom of life is found in the plain and routine details of everyday life. If we observe the natural cycle of things like the seasons of the year, we can be calm and clear. With clarity and equanimity, we can see that things naturally go up and down, back and forth. They change by themselves. All journeys are circles within circles. So let's take that in for a second. And something that is intrinsic in the reading here is this idea of completion or reiteration of a cycle, a kind of continuity of pattern. That the year keeps happening, that the sun keeps, generating fire, and the earth and the planets keep circling around that fire. And so I think we have to understand something about the nature of the cycle that we're in as humans versus the nature, socioeconomic things, versus sort of like what nature does that allows us to have our problems. Where we are in a real great time of revolution, where a kind of disturbed patriarchal dominance has kind of gone very far away from nature and sought to dominate the cycles of time in an endless summer, right? This is the endless yang, the endless summer. Now, the thing about that is that that doesn't work in real life. In real nature, nature does not allow that to happen. And so the problem that we see as human beings reading this is that we have to get out of our social brain a little bit, because our social brain is totally brainwashed by the environment and the culture. We're not really living in accordance with nature. It's only when nature does something we don't like that we even try to acknowledge that nature is doing its thing. And so this this story that this is coming from, the dark of Yin, which is the winter that we are still in technically, with a little bit of yang bubbling up from the surface. Um, this would be how a human who is listening to the earth because they know that their body is made of earth and they are attuned to the earth element of the body can then attune to the earth element of the ground and feel this little lightning bolt of chi that is stirring right now. Um, this is this is synonymous with the duende that Garcia Lorca um, described in the really amazing essay and book, Play and Theory of Duende, where he explains poetically what the singers of that region were doing, the folk singers. They were allowing a lightning bolt of inspiration to flow through their feet and up through their mouths. And this is a very important book because it shows that this animistic chi sharing or receptive quality, the receiving of chi from the earth, is not merely some kind of Asian idea. Okay, so we have to understand that because so many people are disembodied, which is to say they have ignored the earth of their body and their body of the earth, then this receptive listening or receiving of this chi transmission is largely impossible. So when we see out there in the internet world and in socio-political world all of the egregious violence that is being done by people who are proclaiming that their mode of perception is the best and only way to perceive reality, we can definitely see the mismatch when we start to return this return when we return to this primary relational circuit that is happening between the human body and the earth and the cosmic body that is the earth, that the earth is inside of, that allows for these seasonal chi changes to occur. I'm not going to go totally into it, but in the Chinese cosmology, in the Taoist cosmology, every 2 weeks is a different chi node, which has a different kind of flavor, a different kind of chi. But then in between seasons, there is this 2 week chi node period that is governed by Earth, right? And it's actually in these chi nodes that a real harmony can be experienced if we allow that to happen. When the chi is changing in the great cycle, there are these microcycles of Earth that come to sort of palate cleanse, to say it's no longer that chi node, it's going to be this chi node. The palate cleanse in the middle is Earth. Okay? And I've just, described that the earth can sort of transmit signals to us through our feet if we have the skill to receive and to listen to those chi signals. So I'll let you do your own research on that. The chi nodes are the same all over the place in the so you can do that. But then you can sort of try to catch the 2 week periods where um, there's kind of like this breath or this pause that allows us to reharmonize, to sort of complete what just happened and to prepare for what is about to happen. And so this idea of completion is very important in the cycle of these teachings. You don't think of it like a Western perfection, because that would be false. But the idea of completion is just to sort of like have the capacity to complete a cycle. Okay. Um, and so getting to sort of like some of the auspicious, how we could sort of think about this in terms of health is that like finishing your protocols. So Ming says here the patient needs to resume an abandoned personal health care regime and or finish an incomplete series of medical treatments. We can look at that metaphorically, we can look at that literally, right? Like we can actually say, if there is a thing that you began that had to do with your health and you abandoned it, it would be really good to complete that in this time before spring really gets here. So taking these moments when it's still technically winter, but we're feeling the beginning of spring, to sort of clean up anything left, to complete cycles, to really ask yourself what needs to be done so that if I do it, I won't have to worry about it again for a little while. I can sort of receive the new chi of spring and summer, the yang chi of spring and summer. I could receive it in a timely manner, and then this cycle will happen again. Because, the thing about our society is that we want summer to last forever, and we make we figure out all these ways that it lasts forever. Continual yang qi saturation is not good for every constitution. You have to really be sensitive to your own karma, fate, and constitution in order to not overdo it with any of the energies that are available. Okay? So this was a very simple kind of reading, but I don't know if it's simple for Westerners, especially when the social media landscape, the political landscape, the economic landscape, the social cultural landscapes are constantly inflamed with a kind of psychosis and an impotence. People have power, but they generally don't know how to use that power correctly and end up hurting themselves or others with that power through an inability to discern the difference between a perspective of extremism or a perspective of diversity. The Taoist cosmological frame is a perspective of diversity. It is diverse circles within diverse circles, and there's many, many systems of those diverse perspectives embedded into Taoist cosmology. You have the 12 animals, but then you also have the wuxing cycle, and then you also have the hexagrams. So all of these systems of diverse perspectives are embedded and talking to each other to give a full, complex sort of reflection of what might be happening at any given time. So just to recognize that it is not a simple system. Diversity requires us to be receptive to differences. Those differences, however, do not mean that we resort into some kind of tribal warfare. because we understand that everyone contains those differences in different ratios, in different intensities at different times in their lives, right? For instance, when you're a child, you're going to have certain energies more available than when you're maybe an elderly person. But on a continual spectrum of sort of breadth and depth and width and looking at it from a distance and over time, you might see, well, that person has this particular constitution and fate, and it expressed itself differently in these environments at these times in their lives, right? That's just sort of natural. So it becomes very complex very quickly. But I think what happens in America is that we have so many competing narratives and worldviews and frames that we can't tell the difference very easily between perspectives of diversity, which is a sanity, which is not extreme, versus perspectives of extremism. Because to the whiteified, Americanized, westernized, globalized, consumerized gaze, something like listening to the diverse voices of nature appears as an extreme stance. Okay? And this is where it's a problem. To the extreme perspective, non-extreme perspectives like diversity and inclusion seem extreme. They appear extreme to the extremified mind, to the extremist perception, to the extremist indoctrination, which is colonization. It's an extremism, right? Everything else looks like crazy talk. But this is the definition of crazy, is that everyone's crazy but you. And that's America. And that's, you know who, the country that thinks it's a country over there in the Middle East, that is doing these things to people based on its own weaponized trauma. But really, it's still just Euro supremacy, just the same fucking thing over and over again. So you have to understand this, that like when we're dealing with the people we think we love or we think they're friendly to our cause or whatever we want to think about people, we want to look on the bright side of people, we have to also understand the situation that we are in is a situation of many, many extremes that cannot see other beings as part of the same common ground. Okay, so I want to sort of drive this home because I look at this stuff. But I also look at it from a lens that is not purely this, right? I'm not trying to be apolitical here. I'm not trying to be neutral because there is no real neutral. There's just the changes of the chi cycles and all this stuff. So I think what we really have to understand is that, like, if we are to complete a cycle, we also need to be able to integrate diversity. And diversity not just of so-called other beings, like, oh, the plants and the animals and the trees and the other ethnicities and the other races and all this other stuff. But we need to understand the diversity that is within our systems, the sort of localized biome that we could call my body, right? So when we can use a reflective system like the Yijing or pole star divination or any other, astrological or medical or divinatory system that sort of maps out a diversity and then sort of brings that diversity together to sort of look at how they interact with each other. When we can use any of those reflective systems to look at ourselves and to look at our own bodies, that's where the real restfulness begins. That's where return actually happens. Okay? The return that 24 Fu is talking about is not merely the hero's journey of completion, which is the hero returning home to the village. It's not really that. We could think of it as a point in the cycle of breathing, or when we finally go to sleep at night after a day of being awake. We could think of it as dying, but we could also think of it as the moments that we actually take to contain our imaginations by not letting our hearts and emotions run away with our thoughts, which is to say, not constantly focusing on the political terror and gossip of the day, but actually returning to looking clearly at the energies that are within us that need to be tended to, because they might have something that they need to complete before the next cycle of energy hits the shore. Okay? So that's this for today. I'm trying a new thing where I do this once a month. And I'm also trying to use this as an opportunity to do new technical things, to try new programs and new methods, that so that my work is not just owned by sort of like Instagram, that I can sort of use the raw material and sort of save it and then run it through other programs so that it can then be useful to you. So hopefully you will be seeing a version of that video, because I am not recording this on a live stream. I'm recording it so that I can filter it through some programs, put some better subtitling on it, and then upload that to Instagram and other places. And I'm just trying this out because, this is how we have to sort of deal with the digital age. So I'm trying to sort of titrate my ability to provide valuable content while also recognizing that we live in a hyper-consumeristic world that doesn't like to slow down and actually integrate anything. So all that being said, I really hope that this is a benefit to you. And I will be, maybe launching some new things soon. So watch my Substack for that. I am still on Substack right now. There is really no better option right now, even with all the political turmoil that's going on in all of the platforming, because we are essentially competing for airtime with fascists. I mean, this is just the basic nature of everything, right? So my Substack, thenightgarden.substack.com. I'm building a new website. I'm also building a new animist arts website. All of these are going to happen sometime later, spring or summer, hopefully sooner than later. But I'm chewing on all of that. And so stay tuned. If this was helpful for you, I do gladly appreciate donations at Venmo, at Dare Sohei, or paypal.me/Dare Sohei. I'll put both of those links in the bio, or wherever I upload this video. Those links will be in there. It really helps. It really helps me to do what I was actually sort of made to do, which is definitely not be a capitalist, but to try to be a complementary node in a kind of health-sustaining community system, where all of the various ways that we need to manage our health and fate and constitution are all sort of talking to each other. Obviously, we don't have systems of social institutions that really help us to do this anymore. But maybe once upon a time, I would have been a person who was a part of one of these kinds of social institutions where you could go get all of the things that you needed in one place, your limpias and your massage and your acupressure and your divination and your spiritual healing and your sleep and dream incubation and all the stuff that you needed to actually be like a full human. You would have had sort of like a community of people to help you do various various aspects of that work. So I'm trying to still do my version of that in a extremely fractured social fabric. So anyway, if you think that's valuable and you want me to keep doing it, donations are the only way, really, that I can pay my own bills. Um, and yeah, you can also book sessions if you vibe with what I'm doing and you have enough of a baseline to begin to take on some of the frameworks that I teach. So, anyway, that was my spiel. Still practicing it. Thank you all for listening and stay sane. Bye for now.